In 5 years, you can be a really good triathlete, or in 10 years, you can be a great one.
Goal setting is number one. How do people go about that?
The goal is,
If you are trying to achieve something, commit to the thing in the future with a specific time frame. Because then what's leading now is you're on a countdown timer. How do you take massive action?
if we want really, really good performance, we're just choosing one thing to do. It's really, really important to then sit down and go,
When do you look at the results of how you're tracking towards these things?
I've got one number that tells me, am I on track or not? It's what's called a training stress score. But the other really, really big one that I look at every single day is
Time to get fired up. Yeah, I'm getting fired up.
Your thoughts can become plans. Plans can become actions. And actions become a reality. We share powerful stories and simple steps to fast track your business and personal growth. Are you ready to make it happen? Let's get fired up. Today's guest is Ross Dougal. For over 2 decades, he's worked in specialist roles to help companies grow. He's got a wealth of experience, but is focused on one simple thing: performance. How to get from A to B as quickly as possible. He's also helping his wife to go after big goals, is a dad of 2 young boys, and works for a leading global sports technology company where business meets human performance. A short time ago, he started to race in the demanding sport of off-road triathlons across ocean swimming, mountain biking, and trail running, and he's heading off to the World Championships later this year. If you're keen to learn how to navigate your performance whilst leading a busy life, then stick around. Welcome back. Hot topic, and one of my favorites is, what is the ultimate success formula? It's tried and tested. It's been done for years. It will always be the way forward. And it is about goals, actions, and results. And those results come from consistency. We're back again with Ross Dougal, high performance athlete, business guru. Welcome back, Ross. Let's talk about this structure of the success formula that you've got here. Like, goal setting is number one. How do people go about that, or how have you gone about that, which has proven to be very effective in what you've set out to do?
absolutely. So I asked an amazing lady called Jackie Allen this, and I said, look, what's the most important thing you can do to be successful? Trying to understand how she goes about planning. And she said it was really simple. In 5 years, you can be a really good triathlete, or in 10 years, you can be a great one. So if you start with the result at the top, or you look at, look, what is the goal? The goal is to be consistent. And I have asked so many people this question: what was the number one thing that you did to become as successful as you are? Not some, not most gave me this answer. Every single person said consistency. We were just joking off air about the wonderful world of people trying to get abs.
Yeah.
It's not about, and this is where high performance really comes in, it's not about having 2 or 3 absolutely hero sessions and going off to the gym and absolutely belting yourself and possibly getting injured.
Yeah.
It's the accumulation of 30 or 40 or 50 really consistent workouts at the right intensity that will dramatically progress where you are today versus where you're trying to get to. The same applies for marketing campaigns. The same applies for sales calls. The same applies for any interaction that you want to jump into. So for me, it was really important to understand that. Everyone just told me. So the number one thing to be successful is just do stuff. Be consistent. Okay, that's easy. So next to my plan, all I have to do is do 85% of my plan in a given week. That's all I need to do. And once you've got your plan, the next really clear step, number 2, is take massive action. And I think that it gets really, really straightforward when you start to have a look at what are all the things I can do that can actually help my success. So it's not just going and doing some training. It's how can I stop thinking of food as food and think about it as fuel?
Yeah.
How can eating really, really help me to have the level of energy that I need? How am I actually eating food? When am I eating food? And secondly, how do I get the system to work? And what are all the other things that need to be done? So being really prepared, getting organized the night before. A lot of people love to shine on it's morning routines and I'm earthing for an hour and I'm getting sunlight for 20 minutes and then it's the cold plunge. And most of the responses there are, that's awesome. That's my unemployed mate on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So let's come back to that goal, because I want to know, just from your point of view,
Yes.
if you're like, okay, I want to set a plan and set my goals. How do you do that? What is the 3 steps that you would actually go to put that goal in place before we start taking action?
Absolutely. So my coaches drop in the plan.
Okay.
So they are doing that for me. I don't have to think about that. They are the experts in the steps that are required to get from A to B. So
Time frame?
Yeah.
Well, how long would you have an annual plan?
Yeah.
Is it a month plan? Is it a week plan? Is it all of that?
So we've got a really clear annual plan. We know what the big races or key events are during that year. And then what we do is that we then manage those back into what's happening on a monthly basis.
Right.
But then we don't try to plan too far ahead. So what the coaches do, they basically drop on, here is the activity or the training that's required for the next 1 to 2 weeks. My job is to do that. And all I need to do is to do it to 85%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can I ask, because I was thinking this before, with these races,
Yes.
you're locked into that? So, for example, let's say it's January this year, there's a
Yes.
race in November, you're booked, you're going.
Yeah, this is a really, really critical piece. So I will sit there and I will pay the fee for that race.
Cool. And do you know, the reason I'm asking that is
Yep.
because now I'm committed. I have something that is coming on this day and time that I have to turn up at and come with my best self. So I think that's critical to point out, that if you are trying to achieve something, commit to the thing in the future with a specific time frame. Because then what's leading now is you're on a countdown timer.
100%.
I've got 220 days, 219 days. Shit, I got to, and that will drive back towards that motivation and action, right?
That's 100% right. So that can get scary. What about all the other competitors who are going to that race and who are training? I bet they're doing something. So that's going to get you off the couch. I'm paying a coach. I'm paying for an event. I'm paying for equipment.
Yeah.
I'm paying for memberships and subscriptions.
Yeah.
I'm paying for travel, accommodation. There's also the cost of my time.
Yeah.
So my time with my family.
Yeah.
So this starts to get really tricky when you're looking at scheduling.
Yeah.
So you've got a couple of young kids. I'll
Yeah.
be doing some training late at night, or while they're sneaking something in while they're at school.
Yeah.
All of the other things.
Yeah. So I think that's important. If you do actually want to start to achieve things, is you, yes, commit and pre-book, but also plan and invest. People who pay for things are more likely and invested in actually turning up and doing it. If there's a free event, 100 people register, 20 turn up because, hey, whatever, I'm not committed. You get those people to pay $500 a ticket, your show rate is going to be much more. So Ross is investing in these events, he's investing in the coaches, he's investing in the flights, the accommodation, and now he can actually work back from that on a countdown timer to now structure his day and life around the kids, around the wife, around the training session. Yep. Cool. So your goals, just to wrap up on that point.
Yes.
Annual,
Yep.
monthly,
Yep.
and then short intervals with the coaching plan.
Correct.
Awesome. So got the plan in place. Let's talk about taking massive action. You've said these words a few times. I like it. I'm going to steal it. I'm going to use it, borrow it. I won't steal it. How do you take massive action? And what are the things that you need to be thinking about when doing so?
Yeah, cool. A key thing here is that we're not getting distracted by trying to have too many priorities. So if we want really, really good performance, we're just choosing one thing to do. So it's execute the training plan. So it's really, really important to then sit down and go, how can I just achieve that number? How can I get that done? So if you sit down and go, what are all the things that I could do? Maybe start to bucket these into pieces that would really, really help my performance. So there's the training. How do I do that? Well, you actually just schedule it. It's really, really straightforward. You schedule a day and time that's going to happen. Second of all, what about all the other things that will impact your performance? So nutrition's really key. So food is fuel. So how do I eat the right things? Do good shops. Have a list every week. That really helps. Getting prepared for the activity that you need to do every day, but then also understanding what the purpose of each session is. Some things are going to be easy and they need to be treated like that. Some things are going to be really hard. So you'll need to dial into those, think about them, and get really, really well prepared. And then you really want to start to stack all of these things together so that you're pushing them all towards the one goal that you're doing. It's not about having 8 million things on. It's about how can you get everything to try and push in one direction.
Yeah. And I think, like, you know, obviously before you got into this, these triathlons, life was already busy. It was already chaos and everything else. Then you stack this on top, right? Everyone's always trying to bring stuff in. And I've spoken about this before. It's like when you bring stuff in that's important to you and it takes a high level on that priority list, you have to take some shit out because you need to make space and capacity for it. So when you spoke about before, like these priorities, like training, but then there's work and then there's wife and kids.
Yes.
Do you kind of put these into 3 buckets, 4 buckets? Like how would you go, right, here are the big buckets, and then break those down into a time management structure? Or
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good question because you're not just doing this in isolation. Those are pro athletes. So that's their income. That's what they're getting paid to do. You're trying to do this as a mature athlete. So the buckets that I think about are how do I need to support the family as required? What needs to happen around the home? How can we have really good systems there? Absolutely. Then there's a kids bucket, and then there's the work bucket as well.
yeah,
And again, the great thing about understanding performance here is that high performance can move through all of these areas. I'll give you a really good example that's probably really, really underestimated, and that's about what most athletes would call recovery, but it's about sleep. So if you're doing too much in a particular day, get really attuned to how you feel in the morning. If you're waking up in the morning, you feel exhausted, you feel grumpy, you're a little bit bitey and kind of on edge, it's a very, very clear sign that you're not getting enough recovery. So you need to go back and have a look at how you can get more sleep, and then how that will then move through these buckets, and then you can understand how you can be more effective in them as well.
excellent. So if we wrap this one up, like in terms of the goals you've got there, you've got the actions, you've got the structure, all of that stuff that you've been talking about. Then the next thing is obviously what are results. So when do you look at the results? When do you look at the performance? When do you sense check, am I on track, off track, and then reassess? So how do you approach that in terms of looking at the results of how you're tracking towards these things?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I've got one number that tells me, am I on track or not?
What is
with
it?
everything that's going on. It's what's called a training stress score. And that is basically just your number of heartbeats based on how long you've been doing a training session. And all of the training sessions that have been planned for a week end up giving you a number. And as I was talking about seasons and then really important times that you need to put big effort in, that number gives you a planned number at the end of the week. And then you've got what you actually did. And then you've got the gap. So I just look at that number, and that tells me if I'm on track or not.
Frequency, how would you look at that?
I look at that really at the end of the week.
So it's a
See
weekly thing.
how did all of those pieces come together to get my overall goal. But the other really, really big one that I look at every single day is I've got a number because I have a sports watch, which will tell me what is my fitness score and is that trending in the right way. And the other one, which is critical to me, which is what I call what was my nightly recharge. So how well did I sleep last night? But how did I actually recover from all of the stress that I had the day before? And stress is not just some training stuff. It's how your body responded to what was happening with the kids, what was happening with your partner, what was happening with particular life events, because we all go through things, and sometimes you can sail through them. Sometimes you know that you're under a lot of stress, but sometimes you may not know how much stress you are actually under. And what this can do is start to give you a window into where you need to take the foot off the gas, be kind to yourself and look after yourself before everything falls over. And that's like having a bit of a shield there as you walk through life, which is really important. You've got to be kind to yourself, and you have to look after yourself.
Love it. And you need to know that information, right? Which I think is important to like what is actually happening.
Yes.
Not based on opinions and emotions, but actually bringing some data and facts into the equation, which I think we can touch on in that future episode. Guys, to wrap up, so 3 key things here. Goals. Set goals and plans in place. Do them annually, do them monthly, review them weekly, and reassess. When it comes to action, action is basically having what am I going to do today, tomorrow, this week, this month, this quarter, this year, and stick to that, apply that consistency, and just focus on that activity. The results that Ross was checking about is you have to look at what you have achieved. What have I done? On track, off track? What do I need to reassess? I'm a big fan of, if you need to change the plan, then change it, but don't change the goal. Stick around for future episodes where we'll dig into what a specialist can do for your physical, business, or financial performance. See you soon. If you've enjoyed this episode, then subscribe on YouTube or follow our podcast on your favorite platform. We drop a new episode every week. You'll be doing us a massive favor. If you know someone that would benefit from listening to this, then share it with them. You'll be doing them a massive favor. And if you want the tips, tools, and resources to support you on this journey, then join our exclusive Facebook community and follow our socials. You'll be doing yourself a massive favor.